Good evening, Rando fans. Here in the 11th hour of the Division Finals week, we've got Game 5 between the Titans Mitts and the Phendrana Drifters. My name's Dante, and I'm joined in the booth today by Frostbite. Frostbite, how's it going?
I'm doing great. Super nervous, of course. Always rather be in the match than watching the match, let alone talking about it live, but I'm really looking forward to this. You say Game 5. I feel like this is actually Game 10, as the rivalry continues from last year. Of course, our two teams met in the playoffs last year, and I believe, I could be wrong, but I think it went to 5 games, or it went deep last year, if not 4. And Dante and the Titans Mitts were able to knock us off, and we're looking here for a little bit of revenge tonight. And tonight it is Jet versus Sailor Nep, as Dante said, Game 5 for all the Marbers. Should be super exciting.
Yeah, this one's going to be a real good one to watch. We've got Maps, Compass, and Small Key Shuffle. Big keys are going to be in their respective dungeons, so I believe Sailor Nep vetoed Key Sanity, and then Jet said, well, we're going to play keys anyway, and here we are with the Small Key Shuffle. So map checks are going to kind of be useless unless we find maps, and I guess with this being, I think it's all dungeons, we're going to be looking for those Castle Tower Small Keys, those dreaded, as Nep is putting in her name there, CT Small Hunt, that's exactly what this could end up being.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like these seeds are either Agus seeds, where you're just thinking, oh, this is the best, I don't have to worry about this for the end game, or they're Agatara Small Key Hunts. It doesn't seem like there's any in between for a lot of the time when you run these seeds. But yeah, the big keys being in the dungeons will be interesting. I feel like it's not a mode that people have played a lot, so I wonder if it's going to be front of mind for everyone, or if there will be some hesitation to go to a dungeon, because you're always focusing on your execution as you're running, and it can be tough to pre-plan if there's any little slip-ups because of that. But I think these runners are super experienced and obviously shouldn't be an issue. But it'll be interesting to see how the keys lay out and what we're going to deal with.
Yeah, absolutely. Jet with Phendrana being the current main tournament champion from the fall 2019, are showing a great amount of skill doing that. And Sailor Nep pretty much plays any mode that you throw at her. So she's got a lot of power here. So I'm hoping this is going to be a close match. I know the game 1 between these two was a Key Sanity, and it was quite the adventure to watch. I believe Jet skipped one location. Nep had left some stuff behind, so we really didn't know how that one was going to go for a while before Jet took that win. But it looks like we are getting started here.
Oh, I was really hoping that was going to be one of those Castle Tower keys right off the bat, and I was going to burst out into laughter. But it's another one of those trash keys that you want to find early. It's not like it maybe will make your decision on whether or not you want to go into Thieves Town, but it's nice knowing you don't necessarily have to leave that spot behind.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, as soon as we have Hammer in the Thieves Town, we could head on in there. I about said the Thieves Town big, but again, there's no big key shuffle in here. Those are going to be vanilla.
Oh, dude, I'm glad you made that mistake first, because I guarantee you I'm going to do that at least 5 times if you're betting the over-under on, like, one of the offshore sites or something.
And Jet getting a bomb drop there from the Jelly, so that's going to be nice. Bush Crabs today, just hearts, so nothing of major value there. Jet's going to take a peek at the Lumberjack ledge. This could tell us how soon we see those Castle Tower Smalls. It's a compass, so that's probably going to indicate maybe we're going to get that late.
Yeah, at least it's not going to be the thing that forces you down there. But yeah, that's the interesting thing with those the bomb drops that Jet's getting is with the changes to the prize packs in version 31, like, consistently those green slimes. So just out of that one sort of piece of, like, small luck, he's able to farm a couple bombs before heading down into...
Yeah, and that's a great heads-up game knowledge. I'm really glad that's here in V31. Nep getting the tree pull, noticing it's just 10 arrow count, so gonna save and quit. We're getting a house start now, probably to farm some bombs in the southern portion of the Grove before we head into Kakariko.
Yeah, I like this play a lot. This is exactly what I do in this sort of scenario if I don't have bombs coming out of Lost Woods. I really hate going down there and either, like, YOLOing a couple of the 4-item spots and leaving those behind, because it just feels really bad to go back there. So just coming down here, getting a few comfort bombs. They're already at 20 rupees. There's the free, there's a couple free 10s. They get one big 20, they'll be able to buy some. But yeah, it's nice to not have to run up and forth 2 or 3 times through CAC.
Yeah, most definitely. And Nep actually getting one bomb there. In the past, Nep has complained a lot about her luck on those 50-50 bomb drops, kind of going like 0 for 6 a few times. So luck not always on her side with those, but does at least have one.
Yeah, it says 50-50. I feel like they've just been like, just making fun of us the whole time, and it's like actually like a 20% chance.
It does feel that way sometimes. Jet over in Blind's Hut getting a lamp as well as some bombs, a hook shot. That's going to be useful, and a blue goo, so going to be able to check that sick kid. And I believe that was just a bug net on library there for Sailor Net.
Yeah, it's like I looked and they're in and out so fast I didn't even see it. But that lamp and hook shot, it already smells like Death Mountain in the sea. Gotta find a glove at somewhere, right?
Yeah, most definitely. There's a Turtle Rock Small as well as a chicken in the back of the tavern.
Very humanitarian on behalf of Nep. She's just, making sure all the creatures are free. It looks like she's just going to bypass any sort of bomb worries at all and just go into the hut and farm a couple, probably 8, I would guess, and move out. Maybe just 4.
Yeah, this is a little bit of a time investment, but does usually work out in your favor. It's better than not having bombs. Seeing Jet picking up more bombs as well as a sword inside the well, so these runners are going to have at least one weapon that they can use at their disposal.
Yeah, nice start. Always nice to see a bunch of things in CAC. That bottle's low-key nice, too, because you hate finding it right after you leave, and then it's, burning that hole in your head. Oh, it's probably the Moon Pearl. It's probably the Moon Pearl. Well, it's probably not. You're going to walk over and check it for nothing. But it's great to get that check out of the way early.
Some convergence inside the chicken hut. Net freeing the chicken yet again. Just a compass inside, so I guess that's kind of nice. We can see that item count displayed when we get inside said dungeon, but, we're not really going to go out of our way to be searching for these.
Yeah, for sure. The compasses are kind of like a double-edged sword, right? In a place like Hera, it can sometimes confuse you if you skip the basement cage item, and it might just catch your eye at the last second. It's like, wait, did I leave a chest in there? But by and large, these runners are used to it. They're not probably going to be relying on it. But I've definitely noticed it before. It's been interesting for me, or I've caught myself from a mistake. They can come in handy in the odd scenario.
Now with these runners trading places, Jet getting that Turtle Rock Small in back of tavern. Nep gonna be noticing these bombs showing up as well as the sword. And we'll see where these runners decide to go next. Usually we have a nice South Shore play out of folks, but there is some opportunity to do escape. Only, I guess, 5 items there, or 7 items in there now with the map shuffled out.
Yeah, exactly. There's like an upside and downside. Obviously, the upside to escape is, it's an L dungeon seed. You're almost certainly going to check it, and doing it early can get you an advantage. Now, with the key shuffle on, until they get the small key, a couple of those things are out of logic, which isn't really important, except it might make a decision on what you do, like, as your very next play, if that makes any sense. It looks like Jet is going to make the play right up there to the escape.
The Uncle passageway here does have an item on Uncle as well as one in the chest. So 2 items total. And I was wrong earlier. I believe it's 8 items that are going to be inside of Hyrule Castle. Since that small key is shuffled out as well, that's a blue mail. So at 3 hearts, that's a welcome find.
Yeah, definitely. Blue mail, definitely one of my favorite items in this game. It literally doubles your health, basically. I mean, it's not literally. It doesn't work exactly like that, but and nothing works straightforward like that with this game. You just have to memorize all kinds of arcane things if you want to get the damage tables down and whatnot. But it basically makes Death Warp's a little more annoying, but everything else basically totally safe for the early.
So we do have a little bit of divergence here. Jet being in escape, Nep is going to make the South Shore play. We will see if this pays off for whichever runner. There could be boots. I know a lot of people like when those boots show up early. And that can cause some crazy changes. There's a flute inside of the dam.
Very nice value, that South Shore play. It also makes you like, do I go to Ice Rod Cave now? Do I save quit out of Mini Moldorm Cave and then go back and activate the flute? All these tough choices. Another small key showing up early.
Yeah, basically any time that you can save with that flute, you want to do so. Looks like Nep is going to be going to Mini Moldorm now. Not really any time to be saved, I would think, by saving and quitting from the dam, but you have to walk over there anyway.
Yeah,
There's just
exactly.
a map to Hyrule Castle inside of Hyrule Castle. That's always fun when that happens in these map shuffle events.
Yeah, I thought that was the boomerang chest, though. The map chest is supposed to be in the previous one, but yeah, I guess it's not working out that way. But yeah, that flute is really nice. I was talking with a couple friends the other day, and we're convinced that the flute might be like, if you get the flute early over your opponent, it might be the biggest difference maker. Now, with it being in the dam, it's probably not something Jet's going to leave behind by a long shot. But all the time you save, especially early before you get boots, moving around the world, it adds up really quickly.
Absolutely, it does. Jet taking down the guard and getting 3 bombs and Zelda cell for his troubles. Going to be taking a death warp here, and I assume this is going to be to check that dark cross chest.
Yeah, that would be what I guess as well. And with that lamp, it's in logic. Not that it's a spot that you want to leave behind. I feel like some seeds you get drawn into the castle, and I don't mind going in with 3 hearts and a sword, but I really don't like going in without it. Even though I can do it, sometimes it's really slow. But inevitably, it seems like you leave something important behind in this dark cross location.
Yeah, that seems to be the case a lot. Meanwhile, Nep is activating the flute. You know, you mentioned that blue mail kind of doubling your health, but the ropes or the snakes in here, they're one of those enemies that it doesn't matter which mail you're on, it does a consistent half-hearted damage. Jet doing a nice job avoiding all of those and getting 10 arrows for his trouble, so front of escape really not paying off.
No, just a little piece of clothing upgrade, but not a lot else.
And you mentioned that mountain play, and that is where Nep is headed. With that lamp, this old man save is in logic. You see a lot of runners do this in the dark because it's one of the easiest dark rooms to learn when you're starting out. But definitely don't want to be skipping this, especially in a keys type of scenario.
Yeah, there's added value too. Without the mirror, like if you get into the dark world, it's a faster save quit point. I mean, it's not huge time saves, but like these runners are at the top. They're looking for every frame essentially for at some levels. And if you can save 4 or 5 seconds on a couple save quits, it's the heart piece might not be worth it, but just getting that save quit point and the old man in home, and just the sort of like community spirit you get returning one of your elders to their dwelling, it just adds up. It's really nice.
Yeah, Neb's doing a fine job of freeing everyone, bringing all peace back to Hyrule. We still have to take care of these bosses and crystals and such. Jet's going to kind of be following in the same steps, freeing Hyrule, saving Zelda, the whole whatever the story is.
Something like that, exactly. Yeah, and with this hookshot and flute combo, you just have to assume that there's going to be something of value up in this Paradox Cave location for sure.
Yeah, we've got 7 items here in Paradox. Item 1, just a small key. That's a castle tower small. There's one of the 2. Half of that scary puzzle is solved. A heart container as well. Jet's not going to be too far on or away, rather, from picking those up. So both runners going to be a little at ease, maybe.
Yeah, it's actually just opening the second chest for an item, and it's not going to give you the second one till way later. Oh, there's the cape, too. This is very special.
And we've got a mirror. So you called it, Frost. That's quite a bit of progression inside of Paradox.
And I like the mirror. I really like the play that made. It might sound little, but they skipped Spectacle Rock on their way over to the other side of the world, which is something I like to do as well. And picking up that mirror, they're immediately not going to have to double dip that side of the mountain, which just is a little bit of a feels bad.
Yeah, for sure. Nep giving us a peek at the floating island, just another small key. It would be real nice if those keys were labeled so us, the viewers, could see what they are, but that's not how this goes.
Yeah, it would definitely be interesting. I mean, that's not a bad scoutable key, but some of the ones that are nastier, you're just thinking about it the whole time. Especially if you get into like small key mode, it's like, is that lumberjack key the one I was looking for? Is it the one on Bumper Ledge? Am I making that play? But they'll pick that up likely when they get to the Dark World. But yeah, a lot of small keys early. A lot of small keys that aren't pod small keys.
Yeah, usually you do see quite a bit of pod smalls early on. There's 6 of those scattered about. So at some point we may, or we're gonna have to see at least 4 of those. Nep opting to skip out on climbing Hera area, or the left side of the mountain here. Gonna be heading over to Sahasrara. Meanwhile, Jet gonna be following in Nep's footsteps. Gonna see what he could find over here.
Looks like he can't decide which way he wants to go. Ultimately deciding to go up here first, and we'll lose a little bit of time by double dipping this mountain check.
I'll be honest, it's pretty scary when you're at 1 heart and the cabbages, as we call them, falling from the sky are just raining down as they do 1 heart each. You mentioned a pod small key. There's one in the back of Sahasrara's hut. And Nep skipping out on checking what the green pendant is. I guess her thought process is, we got to do them all, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, and that was a glove over in Spectacle Rock Cave as well that Jet just saw. Yeah, I'm always torn on those decisions. Like, do I even bother checking my maps? Is it relevant? And the answer is no, and then yes when you're trying to figure out what you need to get into GT, in my opinion, essentially. Also, the Pyramid Fairy comes into play occasionally, but like, I just hate the Pyramid Fairy location as a spot in general. I really try and fade it if I can because it's slow, and it just seems like every time I make a play there early, it never pays off, and when I go there late, it never pays off, and then when I last locate it, that's when it pays off. But definitely not the value.
I totally feel that. I feel everything you're saying there because I can relate so hard. Nep not getting anything of value in Agina's cave. Jet didn't go to the right side of the mountain just yet. Got that glove, and now we're going to see backup escape, 50 bucks, 3 bombs, and we got a small key to Desert Palace. So that's something we're probably going to need, most likely.
Yeah, it's another one of those small keys that's just nice to have before the first time you go in there, because Desert's a really ugly play if you got to go in there. And it's like, oh, great, I can, it's fine if you see something out there on the ledge, but it's like, I'm going in there for 1 check, it's going to take me 2 minutes or whatever, it feels bad. But just having that small key, I think it makes it a lot more easy to justify going in there and not leaving something behind. Now the runners just completely traded spots on Death Mountain, but Nep, of course, will be able to go up into Hera first. Now, it looks like they're going to make this play in a more efficient yet dangerous route, because I've tried to do this before and then completely spaced on getting the item in Spectacle Rock Cave after I do Hera, and it's not a great feeling.
It is so easy to forget that. Just out of muscle memory, fluting away or saving and quitting. Definitely something to be concerned about. But this is going to be our first look in Hera as Jet gets his first Castle Tower small key.
All the small keys. Oh, there we go.
Okay, the hunt is over. 15 minutes or 16 or so minutes in, we've got both Castle Tower small keys. We've got a race on our hands now.
So Pyramid is going to have the Moon Pro, right? That's what we're supposed to say at this point in time?
I mean, I guess that's the play, quote unquote. We'll see. Nep thinking about doing Herapot, but deciding to leave. I like this play in this scenario. The reason I say that is because you can complete the dungeon and maybe you get something good, but in the process, you're going to orphan a couple of checks. And so logic, you kind of want to stay in logic most times with Key Sanity, but that's kind of that, I guess, risk you get to take by doing Herapot.
Yeah, I kind of like to just, I'm torn both ways. Like, it's like I'm here now, I can just get this done and hope I never have to come back. But then if I do have to come back, I'm in trouble. The other thing is that she only has Fighter Sword right now, and that Moldorm fight with Fighter Sword, it's not necessarily the hardest fight, you're not likely to die, but it's definitely slower, no matter how good you are at it. And, you take a bump or two and you fall off, and suddenly it's not great, right? So.
Yeah, most definitely. Nep starting at Sanctuary, going to be getting that Desert Small here in back of Escape, it seems. And Jet dropping down the spiral cave hole to get, I believe it's, $50.
Yeah.
So getting closer to Zora money just in case. That is in logic now. I know chat always loves when the fish comes up. Is it going to be a scam today?
Yeah, Zora's terrible location. I mean, I guess they have the glove now, so even if they find slippers, they're not worried if like they do have to go there. It's not one of those scenarios where it's like, okay, do I go pull the rock? Do I, what do I do to get money? Yeah, the reason I might be interested in that Aga play now is because once you get down to sort of Eastern and Aga, you can just sort of bunny your way over, and like I've done that a couple times, and then you pick up the Moon Pearl either in like Saha's Closet or in Eastern Palace, and you just feel like your brain swells so large when a play like that pays off. It's almost worth it.
Yeah, for sure. Now, Nep did check Sahasrara's Closet, but did not dive into Eastern. So does have that opportunity you were talking about there with the mirror. So probably not the worst play to make. We've got the lamp. We've got both Castle Tower smalls. I feel like the game's pushing us this way, but there are a few outlying checks, I think, that could be done. But, the question is, do you want to waste time doing those outliers, or do you just want to go ahead and start, diving these dungeons, including Castle Tower, and get them done?
Yeah, exactly. There can be items in Castle Tower for one, and not only that, it's required. So, sure, if you get the boots and you get Tempered Sword and Silver Arrows, you might be able to do a lot faster later. But I mean, it's probably not going to be faster than going and checking a bunch of assorted one-offs. And it looks like Jet is gonna take the time to clear out the top of Hera.
Yeah, this is that little bit of risk and reward we were talking about. So we'll see if this pays off for Jet. We know that big key is going to be locked in the basement. So that small key is going to have to show up at some point.
Oh, yeah, I wasn't even thinking about that. That's a really good point. Yeah, I think I might have actually done it in this case just because of that. If I'd have been in that mindset, which hopefully I would have been if I'd been playing in this race, I'd have done a few of these seeds and whatever. Because that small key is blocking the big key, it can be interesting in that if you do find something here, it can be very powerful about where that small key could be if you want to get it, which I guess at that point it wouldn't matter necessarily unless the big chest is an item. So very interesting.
Yeah, most definitely. You can read a lot of the logic by sequence breaking sometimes, especially if you find some form of progression. Kind of what Frost was talking about there is just being able to read it and, noticing, hey, this can't be behind this just because of, the item I got here.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of sequence breaking for the, few chances that it does give you to make big plays, especially the mountain sequence break with regards to the sort of flute lamp logic. That can be very powerful in seeds. Now, I think in these key sanity mode, the reason you want a sequence break is more just because you're in the area and you want to get everything sort of in the area out of the way if you can, as opposed to making the big brain play to try and shorten the seed, because that's really not going to happen most of the time in these modes. But it still sort of gives you that information if you can keep track of it all, because I'm sure we've all had situations where we've sequence broke, and then at the end of the race we get into the chat with people and we realize we were looking for an item in places that it couldn't possibly have been because we forgot about the logic.
Yeah, I think everybody's been guilty of that at some point or another, just because when you sequence break after sequence break, you can end up kind of getting yourself in a logical bind mentally. It looks like Jet is going to be making the play to Castle Tower right now, and Nep's probably not too far behind him. She is going to be taking down this guard and checking for those, I think it was 3 bombs here in Zelda's cell that Jet found earlier.
Yeah, I believe you're correct. Also, she has the mirror, so going to save a little bit of time here. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Nep has the Eastern and Aga checks over Jet, whereas Jet has the Hera clear over Nep at this point. I think that's the...
yeah, that's the difference right now. Sahasrara was checked, the closet at least, as well as Akina on Nep's side, but Jet checking Hera, so it kind of almost a wash here going in. They're basically one room apart.
Yeah, very close. Really fun. Exactly as we expected. Map of Skullwood, super value.
Now, these chests, as we saw Jet get this one and Nep picking up that map of Skullwoods, these are not keys guaranteed now, and I guess they're going to be trash. Nothing of value, just $20 in that map, so I guess Aga Tower is just kind of our progression into Dark World, potentially.
I mean, no, given my feelings on the matches between our teams, I feel like the Eastern Palace is definitely going to have the Moon Pearl. But it's really fun to see two racers climbing Aga Tower with no Moon Pearl. And you know what? It's not a bad play. It's I think objectively correct.
Yeah, when you have Mirror in hand, it really doesn't feel as bad doing this play. You know, in an all dungeon seed, it has to be done. You've got these keys for a reason. So these guys are just knocking it out right now. And if the pearls on the pyramid, fantastic. They look like they're awesome. And if it's not, then I guess it's an Eastern.
Exactly. It's not either way. It's not bad. I mean, I think you could generate like 1,000 key sanity seeds, and every single time you got the Aga Tower keys before Dark World access, it would be a required Aga seed. Like, I just can't imagine a scenario where it gives you those keys and it's not required. Now, it might not be logically required. You can sequence break around it or whatever. Now, in an all dungeon seed, that's not necessarily ideal. But when you get these keys early in key sanity, it's an Aga seed, period.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Nep losing a little bit of time there with those red guards and the way Jet handled it. So Jet finishing up the next to last room here before the cutscene, and then we'll be heading into Aga. We always like to think about these blue balls that Aga likes to throw. So hopefully for these runners' sake, we get a nice big 0, but I guess because I even brought it up, we're not getting that now.
I was going to say 0 as well, so it's definitely going to be like 6.
Yeah, when you're running, you always want it 0, but, you know, as a lot of you know, hopefully all of you know, but if you don't, the way this is handled in the vanilla game, when you speedrun this or just play it casually, the number of blue balls Aga throws is randomized. It's randomized here in this, you know, the randomizer itself, but it's seeded between runners. So they're going to get the exact same pattern here, and that way there's no variance as we see the first blue ball.
Of course. I would be interested in running seeds with randomized blue balls. Just not important ones. Can you imagine if you're in this Aga fight and you're getting like 6, 7 blue balls and it wasn't seeded, and you're just thinking, man, if my opponent got none, I just lost like, I don't know, what, a minute or whatever just due to blue ball RNG? I mean, I guess that is the life of a vanilla speedrunner, not that I know anything about that.
Yeah, I mean, you could just go play SMZ3, and I think from what I've seen in that it's not seeded, because sometimes it's a bad time, but we're just filling air here. You know, the Aga fight's never really something that's interesting. It's more of a chore than it is anything else. Unless you're at half a heart, then it becomes a little interesting.
Yeah, I mean, maybe swordless, it can be a little fun. You have to focus a little more to get that timing down. But, I mean, I can't pay attention to this fight when I'm the one fighting it. So, like, to expect me to pay attention when I'm watching it, that's a bit much. All right, Jet finishes, what, maybe 10 to 20 seconds ahead of Nep.
All right, just 10 arrows hanging out on the pyramid, so not going to be the play today.
Oh, Mirror Bonk won. Oh, these both of these sprites are fantastic. I just want to point out. I don't know that. I mean, I think I've seen the Sailor Moon bunny sprite before, but I just want to point out how great it is again.
Yeah, both bunny sprites are just fantastic. I love the sprites that both of these runners use. They're just awesome.
It looks like
So Jet decided to mirror before going over here. Does have more checks than Nep does, so interesting strat here.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of this play. I feel like you definitely want to take your portal over to this area.
Nep deciding to flute away from Eastern, has an idea. You know, neither one of these runners have checked Ice Rod Cave, so I guess that's where they're headed. And looks like Meyer is our green pendant today.
Yeah, I kind of like this by Nep. They got their portal relatively close to that Eastern Palace flute location. And this is something that you definitely know they haven't planned out in advance, right? This is on-the-fly routing, trying to maximize their chances. And look at how well that pays off. Getting the Moon Pearl out of the Ice Rod Cave. Really, really creative routing by Nep and paying off handsomely.
Now the question is going to be, does Nep go back to the pod area, or are we going to go ahead and use that glove and hook combo to go left side of Dark World. Looks like she is headed to the portal. I guess this is a little faster than fluting to 4, so let's see where she decides to go. Jet is making that eastern dive, and this is going to be some new territory for us.
And Nep going up to pod. I like this play. I feel like the choice whether to go to pod or around the world when you do Aga, ooh, that's a nice find for Jet, the Master Sword. I mean, I guess technically it's a progression, but a little bit of combat saving time, another safety. But the choice whether to go around the world or go into pod seems to be one of those make or break choices. It definitely made a huge difference in your race against Megawatt, your second race, and I'm a big fan of the pod play.
Yeah, sometimes, if you have bow, it feels, good going into pod after that Aga play, but sometimes when you don't have it, speaking of pod, there's a small key inside of Eastern on Jet's side. But yeah,
Classic.
like they don't have the bow right now. So, yeah, it's just a scenario of do you want to invest that time in going into pod right now?
Yeah, there's another thing I think about when I'm making this play too is sort of the opportunity cost. Like if I go to pod, I might sink 4 or 5 minutes walking over here and clearing it out. Might be a bit more, but if I leave it and it has something important, I'm not getting back to it for probably like 20 or 25 minutes, depending on what I find going the other way. So I'm always concerned about leaving something behind that there's a very good chance my opponent could have gotten a lot earlier.
And we do have $50 there in pod. We're going to be dropping down to the Stalfos basement. This is going to be the last logical check we're going to find here. 10 arrows, and we'll see where Nep decides to go. We do have a couple of bottles, so I'm not sure if there's a goo in one, but if there is, we could get a nice potion camera unlock glitch over here to sequence break these 2 chests.
I think one of them was a bee, but I have no idea.
I know one was a fairy, and I've seen Nep do the mimic clip a couple of times. There is a blue goo, so that is going to be appearing what she decides to do here.
Yeah, this makes sense, especially with this big key mode. Not that she can get to the back yet, but it's always something I hate to do is go to the back of pod with leaving the big key behind here when I don't have... Because it always seems like the big key's back here, then you got to go back to the back to get the big chest the second trip, and you're just thinking like, this is not how this is supposed to be done.
Yeah, it can be that way sometimes. There's the big key, 2 swords inside of Eastern. That is huge for Jet. Tempered Sword, always a welcome find. And Nep is mirroring. We'll see if she decides to flute away, but is going to head into Eastern as well. So we'll be right behind getting both of those swords.
Jet going to pick up the Moon Pearl right away as well.
Being on Nep's team, I'm not going to lie, Frost, I was kind of hoping, like Mireshed in Game 1, Jet was going to forget Ice Rod, but, it's so early, you don't really forget Ice Rod, Kate.
I mean, you do, but, I mean, Jet's plot armor is so thick at this point, like, I feel like any place he forgets, we know there's not going to be anything in it. But yeah, that was a really interesting play. I've watched a bunch of these races closely, and I've seen 3 runners forget Sick Kid as well. Now, one up did it, sort of notoriously, and it really hurt him. But another 2 runners did it, and it didn't have anything in it, and I guarantee you they had no idea that they didn't check it. Now, maybe they did, and they faded Sick Kid, which is incredible, but it's one of those checks you definitely want to do. But it just goes to show you that even good runners, sometimes you do things a little bit out of the normal order, and you just have it in your mind that you've done something that you haven't done.
Yeah, and with the league, you're not just racing for yourself anymore. You're on a team of 3 people, and that's one of the most exciting parts about the league to me, is just, you're racing for a collective rather than yourself. So sometimes you may double check your plays, and the nerves may be even higher. That could be reasons why people forget things, and, sometimes it's just an off day.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I have definitely noticed that the nerves are way higher for me in these matches than they are in other tournament matches or, quote unquote important matches. It feels, just because you have the teammates watching you and you don't want to let them down and you want to win for them. It just, it's natural just to put more pressure on yourself. And some people I feel like are able to handle that better than others. And I think it shows from time to time, right? I mean, just like sort of other competitive avenues.
Absolutely. So Jet, now with Kiki, going to be opening up Pod. Going to be able to do those checks that Nep did, as well as having an additional key. So we will be able to get a little further into Pod and check a few of those back chests.
Yeah, 2 keys is like my favorite number of keys to go to Pod with. If I don't have 5, of course. But I feel like it's the perfect number of. I'm leaving the most stuff behind to try and draw me back here earlier rather than later. Whereas I show up here with 4, like I'm never the person that's going to go around the bow side multiple times. I'm always opening that front door. So I'm leaving something behind. But with 2 keys, it's like I can get everything except, the 6 key locked items. So the Hellway and the big key chest and the boss, of course. And it's 11 items you can get really quickly out of Pod. So.
All right, so Nep is going to make the play back into Palace of Darkness with that additional key. Like you were saying, there's a lot of items in the back, and we have access to them, and they're all logical. We've got a lamp, so even the basement is in logic. So we'll see what these runners decide to do. Jet doing the potion camera unlock as well. So going to be getting those chests on the right side, even though I think the best thing we found was, besides the big key here, the Misery Mire small key.
Yeah, Misery Mire small keys. I mean, it's nice to have one of them. I mean, once you get 3 of them, maybe you start thinking about, what is this actually where the game wants me to go? But by and large, sort of pointless.
And come to think of it, now that we do have that big key inside of Pod, we'll be able to do the big chest as well. So 3 more checks if these runners decide to do the hammer yump, as it were. There's a TR small in the dark basement, as well as a small key to Skull Woods. We don't really need those, but I guess it's kind of a welcome find when you want to route things nice and neat for Skull Woods.
Yeah, for sure. And just having that mirror makes routing Pod so much more convenient. One of the worst dungeons to route without the mirror. I mean, it's one of the few that you tend to cycle back to the front door over and over.
Jet picking up his $50 on the arena.
Yeah, so it doesn't...
And Nep getting that bomb jump, just 10 bombs in the big chest.
Always find that when you're in Pod, because, Pod is one of those dungeons you seem to always leave with full bombs out of. Why not another 10 to add to this collection?
Yeah, this isn't like V29 and, prior versions where those bomb and the capacity upgrades were just out in the wild. Then you'd have a crazy amount of bombs, but there's a Swamp Small, and that is out of sequence, but that's a welcome find. I'm pretty sure both of these runners are going to walk away from this dungeon with that.
Yeah, as Goomba pointed out in chat, that whole back is actually blocked by 4 keys because of the way you could use your key on that big key door, but you still definitely want to clear them while you're in there because you get something like the Swamp Palace small key. I mean, that's going to be hard required in this seed. It's also interesting in that now you know that Swamp is behind 6 Pod small keys, like the whole dungeon of Swamp is behind that. So I know if I was in, Nep and soon-to-be Jet spot, I would be fading Swamp Palace to the extreme in this seed.
And Nep deciding not to do Catfish just yet. It is kind of an out-of-a-way check, and with no flippers, even with that mirror, not able to kind of route in Zora as well as the Waterfall Fairy. So we'll see what she decides to find here in the Graveyard Ledge. This is another one of those out-of-the-way checks, but when you're routing Dark World this way, there's really no reason to skip this.
Oh yeah, you have to make this check. I also feel like I mean she could go over there and check Zora. I mean you're avoiding the other item location. The Waterfall Fair, I guess that's what it's called. And you can't get the ledge, but you can scout it. But with only 500 rupees, of course, finding 300 rupees as I'm about to make this point, you don't necessarily want to spend all your money on Zora and then go to Village of Outcasts and you're like, oh wait, I can't buy the chess game. Oh wait, I can't buy the dig game. Like that has happened to me before as well.
Yeah, it's never a good feeling when that does happen. Then you have to, grind rupees one way or another. And when that happens, you're just hemorrhaging time and losing it to your opponent, most likely. So Jet is headed north. We will get a check of Catfish and maybe Zora as well. So we can get that info. if anything, if progression is there, that could be a little bit of a turning point in this match. Both of these runners kind of following in each other's footsteps back and forth so far.
Yeah, I actually kind of like Nep's play a little more in this scenario. Ooh, especially when you find the myth sitting right there. But because of the fact that you have the mirror, you've killed Aga, you don't have the flipper, so you can't do the other checks over here. You don't have the bow, so you can't set up a convenient water or a fake flipper stake to get into the Waterfall Fairy Cave. I think I would have left this as well, hoping to pick up one of those items in the village. Then you just save quit in the Dark World, you start on the pyramid again, and it hasn't really cost you much time.
Catfish just has a heart container today. And there's the mirror from Jet, so we will get the check of Zora. Nep picking up her mitts. That doesn't really do too terribly much for us. We can potentially do the blacksmith chain coming up here, but I believe we're going to get a dive of Skullwood.
Yeah, this makes sense. I mean, mitts and flute, you can get back into the village quickly, so maybe you want to avoid Skullwoods until maybe you find the fire rod, but I mean, it's key sanity. I feel like you just got to come up here, it's keys light, whatever you want to call it, and make this check. Makes total sense. And that myth location up on Bumper's Ledge, you know, it's one of those things that when you have Dark World access through Aga, it's like something you'll never miss, but if you have Hammer Dark World access, that could be a pretty annoying location.
Yeah, most definitely. You don't ever really want to have to waste that time walking up there. Speaking of items that are kind of annoying, there's magic powder, and that's on Zora, so that could be a big item if something is on Magic Bat. We do have a pod small there inside of Skullwood, so that brings our total up to 3, getting closer to that 4, 5, and 6 mark where we can clear this thing out. Just have to get, you know, a bow and a hammer first.
Yeah, all the keys, no items.
Yeah, when you get keys like that and you haven't found the actual function items for the Y button, you just worry that, you know, all right, well, I'm gonna have to double dip this, unfortunately, which seems to be the case. Nep getting the Skullwood's big, gonna be setting up a bomb jump here to check this out.
I don't know if there was some anger hook shots in the wall. I suspect they're just a little forget to turn down hook shots into the wall, but heart piece, definitely not what you're looking for.
Yeah, sometimes, you know, it's just really hard pressing the down button before you hook. Speaking of heart pieces, there's another one, so not a whole lot of value here in Skull Woods. I do have one chest left. This used to be a guaranteed small key, not so much the case anymore, and it's just a map, so equally useless, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, the small key is definitely nicer than that map. Yeah, especially if you're like me and you play a bunch of entrants. It's like an entrance that still has a small key in it, so it's like sometimes my brain just is like, I'm just checking this thing every time, no matter what.
So Nep is opting to skip out on Village of Outcast, having the Titan's mitts. Gonna be able to re-access that without having to walk around the world, so gonna get some intel here. Misery Meyer I didn't catch that. Did you catch what that was?
I think it was Bombos. Now, I am not confident in that assessment either.
Yeah, that was a super fast check. And inside, there's our Hera Small inside of the Meyer shed, as well as 20 bucks. So I guess that's fully in logic at this point.
Yeah, and with the mitts and the hookshot, that Death Mountain play is actually kind of appealing as well. The other thing that is really appealing to me about this play for Nep is that Desert Palace small key. I'm always trying to look for those like items that open a few locations that I've just been strategically given at some point, and I'm thinking, why did I get this Desert small key now? There's got to be something there. So I really like this. I'm also a fan of the early Meyer dive as well. Now, if they could have gotten in it if it was Ether, it would make it a really hard choice. But I feel like Meyer is a dungeon that gets a bad rap for double dipping because it doesn't have sort of the time cost to get to the front door. The fact that you have to go Meyer 2 to get through, I feel like isn't that bad, especially once you get more comfortable with it, maybe with Fire Rod strats or whatever.
And unfortunately, Jet taking a little bit of a fall there. Trying to do that without the hook, which is a way of doing that in Logic. But
yeah,
gonna get it on the second try.
Yeah, the final boss of the game falling into pits. The first time you see the hook shot on that location, your mind kind of explodes too. It's like, wait, I need the hook to get the hook. And then someone just says, oh no, you can just walk across the top wall there and you feel dumb.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I definitely thought you needed the hook shot to get over there when I picked this game up. Because, I mean, that's how I did it when I played it when I was younger, right? So.
Yeah, I think I fell prey to the same trick there. But here we go with Checkerboard Cave on Nep's side. This is another one of those out-of-the-way checks. We've got a mirror, we've got the mitts, we've got the flute. It's just $50, so nothing of value. This is probably going to be the play back to the Village of Outcasts. So Nep going to be setting up a fake flipper here. This is quite an interesting play. Going to be able to do Zora. Going to be orphaning Catfish this way, though. So going to be able to check Waterfall Fairy as well. That's going to be something Jet was not able to do while here. So this is an interesting play.
Yeah, it's like Jet chose to orphan the Waterfall Fairy and Nep has chose to orphan Catfish. I mean, quote unquote orphan.
Oh, and unfortunately for Nep, getting that heart refill while in that, I guess, walking state that the Mood Pearl puts you in, and when you get a full heart, it actually throws you back down into a swimming animation. But there is another pod small, so that's going to make things kind of interesting. Up to 4 of those now.
Yeah, it's starting to feel like your whole trip over to this area might just be to get pod small keys. I know that one's not even in logic. And Nep just totally bailing out on Zora.
Yeah, still yet to be seen if that Zora play is going to be worth it with that magic powder. It's always a nice safety to have, but you're never really sure what Magic Bat is going to hold. And you mentioned the mountain looking really good at this point from Nep's point of view. We do have that Hera small to put Hera into full logic. And we've got Dark World access, so it looks like that's what she's going to be doing right now.
Yeah, it's 6 quick checks on this east side of the Dark World. Plus, you get that that confirmed knowledge. What is the TR medallion? So you're never going to be in a scenario where you're sitting with 2 medallions and thinking, am I in go mode? Can I just go?
Yeah, having that medallion knowledge is something that's taken for granted a lot, I think.
Yeah, and I don't know if this is one of those V31 tropes or if it's something that is actually real, but I certainly feel that, back in the day of V30 and V29, like a year ago, I felt really confident going to TR with 2 medallions that, I was going to have the right one 100 times out of 100. And now it's the flip 100% on the head. It's every time I go there, I have 2 and it's the 3rd one. Now, half the time it's an hookshot case, so it's not that bad, but I don't know what it is. It just feels like I've lost my confidence with medallion gambles at this point in my career. So is that a double bombos? Is that what that was?
I believe it is the case. I did try to check on Nep's tracker to see on their stream and not able to deduce what Meyer was, but TR is indeed Bombos.
Oh, boom. That's a great play. Hammer in hookshot cave.
Yeah, that's something you definitely want to find, and luckily for Nep, that's the case. You want to find that before you head back into Village of Outcasts. You know you've got that Thieves Town small. That's not something you really want to kind of bat an eye at and just kind of ignore that. That could have progression behind it.
Yeah, and you just always want to find the hammer because, it could be in a terrible location. And the sad thing with the hammer is that the terrible locations it can be in are all accessible except not full clearable, unlike the myths per se, where you just can't get at most spots that are bad.
So here we are in the coffee break, as we call it, the Hera basement. So if you're just joining us, Jet did clear out Tower of Hera earlier without the small key, was able to do a trick we call Hera Pot. It allows you to bypass the big key. Unfortunately, the risk with that, you leave behind the big chest. So we're kind of going to see now if that gamble really was worth it. So Nep getting this big key here in the basement is going to be able to check that big chest, but if it's not a value, it's definitely a bigger time sink, having to go through this cutscene of the tile room.
Yeah, on the other hand, this did work out very well for Nep, how she chose to go out first and then sort of did run into the Hera small key. And it might have even like been, sometimes you're thinking to go to Death Mountain, you get that key, the key's in or like opens up the basement to put the dungeon in logic. It might be the sort of final thing that makes you make that play, and it ended up paying off for the hammer even if there is nothing else.
Now, if you're saying, what is Harapot? This is kind of one of the mini setups Nep is doing here. It's still faster if you get this to, go about doing Hera this way. All right, moment of truth here. Just $20. Oh well.
I'm a big fan of this rage flashes. I mean, it costs you that second, but you get that anger out and you just de-tilt right away and move on. That's how it works, right?
Yeah, and sometimes you have to, in intense situations like this, you have to think about, do you really want to do anger slashes? You are a little frustrated sometimes when item plays don't pan out the way you were hoping, but every time you swing your sword, you are not moving in this game. So
yeah,
it's
exactly.
can be really big of a time sink, when you're just trying to express some frustration. But meanwhile, Nep is going to take down Moldorm rather easily, having that tempered sword, pretty quick fight. Getting that heart container.
It was a bit of a tightrope walk. I can say that 3 times fast, but definitely much quicker. I was a little scared. I was really close to the center pit, walking up there into the boss.
Now, one thing to note, I did see in chat that Nep did skip getting that small key on the floating island. That could be costly. Speaking of small keys, there's a Turtle Rock Small over at the blacksmith on Jet's side. So I think that brings our total up to 3.
I believe that is correct, and 3 is that's that key number for TR right there too. I mean, they have literally nothing else in the medallion nor any of the other items, but I'd be thinking about TR at this point.
All right, this is our magic bat play as well. Zora had our powder today. 10 arrows in Spike Cave, no value there. The magic bat is going to curse us with a red cane. Oh my goodness. That's actually kind of big because you need that item if you were going to sequence break this with the fake powder trick using cane and mushroom. See, there's a big important factor there, the cane. And with it being there, you're not going to be able to sequence break it.
Yeah, exactly. And conjuring TR, I'm just going to keep talking about TR stuff to keep conjuring it. But no, it's hopefully not going to burden Nep too much. I mean, that Zora check's not great. I have a feeling the reason she skipped out on it is she didn't want to totally abandon Catfish and is planning on doing a Dark World route up there and then mirroring over and checking it at some point in the future, maybe with flippers or the bow to avoid abandoning the Zorledge item, which of course I think it was nothing. But yeah, that cane hopefully isn't too important because I definitely want this to be a close match, and it's been ridiculously close so far.
Yeah, there's been, from what we can see as far as who's routing what, there's been some back and forth, but with as much divergence as we've had right now, and the progression's still looming where we're going to find it. There's no clear, I guess, who's ahead at this point, so still very close.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, they basically, I mean, they haven't done exclusively the same checks as each other, but they've been very, basically covering the same tracks, which, most of the seats happen that way. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. TR, I feel like once they find Bombos, you get 3 small keys to TR. The big key is going to be accessible. I'd be really tempted to go up there without any rods myself in this scenario.
Yeah, most definitely. So Jet going to give us our second look at Meyer. Maybe we can catch and see what this is. It is Bombos. You were correct, Frostbite. So we've got a double Bombo situation, and neither runner has that yet. So our entry is not granted just yet.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say we've got a triple Bombo situation because the ice or the fire rod is gonna be in Ice Palace as well.
Very possible. There's that Tower of Hera small key for Jet, so that's something people or Jet may have on his mind, but probably not too terribly much. Usually, and we know that is the case this time, but usually that skipping that big chest isn't coming up too big for him. But there's Bombos, so now we've got that. You've got to start wondering about your play you were just talking about. Do you want to go dive Turtle Rock?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, the downside to diving TR is that, like, it's obviously something you want to do right before you go to GT to maximize sort of your mountain trips and their convenience. Now, the thing that's going to maybe prevent Jet from going up there as quickly as he might otherwise is that he doesn't have the hammer, and the fact that the hammer is up there might be a problem for him for a little while. But I feel like TR is the play at this point. It seems like that's where the seed's wanting to push them to. And I feel like it's not a scenario where you're going to be able to push it off till the very end game anyways, given all these small keys so early, and that they don't really have a lot of logical locations left available.
Yeah, there's not a lot left, so absolutely correct. Now, all of these checks we're seeing here on Jet's side, Nep has done, but these are new ones over on Nep's side. Hammer in hand, the dive into Thieves does, there's no reason to not do it.
Yeah, and I think the Thieves Town small cube was the very first item they found in Sanctuary too. So, that's another thing. It's like I tend to like to think the things I get early, it's like there's an omniscient being putting them early because they're going to be progression items for me, and I like to make plays like that. But that Bombos, of course, opens Mire as well as Ice Palace, so it does give the 3 dungeon opening. I think obviously Ice Palace is the least appealing one of the bunch, but ever since Icebreaker, Ice Palace has gotten a leash on life, maybe not seen since Hints.
Yeah, for sure. Now, I kind of have to speak as a teammate here, as I am on the Titans mitts. Nep got burned in a previous match earlier this week about the cane showing up inside of Mire. And now that we know where the cane is, I have to say, it's kind of an edge-of-your-seat moment of whether or not Nep's going to just decide to dive Mire without a cane in hopes that it's there.
Yeah.
All right, so this is the elusive Hammerlock check here in Thieves Town. What is it going to be today? 10 arrows, nothing of value.
Yeah, that's another one of those interesting locations. I used to be really hesitant to go into Thieves Town without the small key. I really hated orphaning that location. And of course, everyone's been burned by orphaning it at one time or another. You know what I've never done? I've never put off Thieves Town and then found the small key and then found an item in the big chest. It never works that way, right? So it's nice to have it when you go in there, but you just make the checks, get your 20 rupees, and move on.
All right, so here we are in the blind fight. Believe it or not, we're 55 minutes in, and this is only our second boss. Phase 2 done for Nep. Just got to wait on Blind to pop up again for Phase 3. 3 more hits, and down goes Blind. Yet to be determined if this is going to be a crystal or a pendant. We did get a compass to swamp, but that's our first crystal. We need 7 of those to open GT.
Really nice fight, nice TT clear and hole by Nap, and getting that on the board is nice. Yeah, you start to get a little nervous when you look at your tracker and you don't have that many dungeons lit up. But then again, it's like, what, am I going to go into Ice without Flippers or Hammer? Am I going to go into Mire, sort of in the scenario where they both had the opportunity to? I mean, they didn't have Bombos, and now that Nep doesn't have Kane yet. Yeah, it tends to be you don't get any, and then they all come within about 20-30 minutes at the end of the seed, so it makes up for it.
So now, chat pointing this out too, Jet is deciding to not get the small key on the floating island either. So it may be something that they're strategically leaving. I can't see why, or maybe they've just both forgotten it. So this could get interesting down the stretch.
Yeah, do they know some new tech about reading keys by color codes? Like, I'm aware of the GT keys being slightly off color. I guess I should say in-dungeon keys that are visually scoutable being slightly off color, but I'm not aware of anything on the overworld.
Yeah, that would be news to me as well. Jet doing the same thing that Nep did. Nothing there in Spike Cave, but now you don't have to worry about it. Spike Cave, you know, whenever you decide to check it, it's not progression, and when you don't check it, it is. It's just one of those terrible item placement.
Yeah, I hate Spike Cave. It's one of my least favorite locations in the game, and it's one of those things that it's just, you're up there, gotta check it.
So Jet coming back to the Village of Outcast area does have Hammer in hand, going to be able to do Thieves Town as well as the Hammer Pegs, and I believe that's something Nep is hopefully going to do while she's here.
Yeah, I like this play. It only takes finding the boots once on the Smiths to never check Hammer Pegs before Smiths.
That's for sure. There's that TR small, and that
Yeah.
brings our total up to 3, I believe now, for both runners.
Yeah, Jet does have 3 TR keys. I did just look at his menu when he menued recently. Got to be one of the most frustrating things in the game. I mean, at least it's no Randomizer where you're dodging BMOs out here, but just not having the boots to do this check, it always feels so.
Yeah, it's so slow. And all for a map, too.
Yeah, and I feel like it's one of those things, like a lot of things in this game, if you time out, it's like, oh yeah, it's like 11 seconds difference, but it feels like 11 minutes difference.
Yeah, when you are the runner in the hot seat, so to speak, definitely something that you feel like every time you're doing something slower than you're used to doing it, it takes 10 times as long. It's not always the case, but it just feels that way. It's a mental draining thing.
Yeah, but I feel like it's a good thing to reinforce, like, trying to strive for perfection, right? Like, if you just accepted every mistake you make, you never improve. So, you know, there might be a happy medium in somewhere, but I like to be hard on myself when I'm playing, as I think a lot of the elite runners do. Not that I consider myself elite, but I'm getting better.
Jet headed into back of Thieves Town, and we know from Nep's side that really nothing of value in the back. We did get Bombos in the front, which is opening up Turtle Rock. If you're just joining us, Jet does have that red Cane of Samaria. That's kind of the biggest difference right now. That being from the Magic Powder, or the Magic Bat rather, and we need that powder to check it. And yeah, Zora's holding that powder today, so I mean, Nep's getting into a point where there's not much left that you can logically do, so maybe she's going to make that play to Zora?
Yeah, it would make sense to do it fairly soon, just to get, you know, she knows she's left Catfish behind as well. Yeah, it has been a seed where it's like, it feels like it's been pretty dry, even though I look at their trackers and they've got quite a few items. It feels like the items have all been, like, you know, sort of spread out. I don't know if that makes sense. It's like, oh, go do all this stuff to likely what? Either go in TR or Mire and find the flippers and move on? I don't know. What do you think the likely progression is moving forward? It's got to be the flippers, right? It seems like that would be the thing that opens the most options.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. Nep dropping a bomb there in Hype Cave. Not sure if that was intentional or not. That Hype Cave is pretty dry today. But, yeah, we'll see where these runners decide to go next. Jet's probably going to come out just a few seconds ahead here once finishing Thieves.
Yeah, they couldn't be convenient and route this the same so we could actually tell who's winning, eh? Got to keep us on the edge of our seats.
This is bad for Nep, because Nep is diving Mire without a cane.
This is rough. And yeah, as you mentioned, she did avoid it the last race. And I don't know if she said it in the interview, if I was reading it in one of the Discords, that it's like, it happens this way, right? It's like the one spot it couldn't be absolutely murdered me, and I feel that for sure. But unfortunately, this is going to be a little bit of a time loss.
Now, if you get boots in here, maybe it's nice if Jet puts it off for a while, but honestly, if I'm in Jet's shoes, I've got Lamp, I've got Cane, and I've got Keys. We know the big keys are in the dungeon. It makes total sense in a way to go ahead and clear out Meyer, you know, potentially before you even make that TR dive like you were talking about.
Yeah, and I might even change my mind up a bit and argue that you should probably do Ice Palace first as well, because, you know, sure, they got Tempered Sword, so the boss fight's going to be free. Jet has the cane, so it's appealing to him at this point as well. Now, he doesn't have a small key to make it easier. I see that Neff does have one. I'm not sure where that was. But just in case you do something like pull the Fire Rod out of ice, and then, you know, you can maybe clear TR when they find the Vanilla Ice Rod up there or something like that. So
Jet taking down Blind there. Nicely done. Collecting all 8 items inside the dungeon. And getting that first crystal of the seed. So we're kind of in a nice slow-paced seed in a way, without the boots showing up at any point.
Yeah, they get the... I mean, flute isn't a fringe movement item, but it's not like, you know, movement item per se. It just lets you skip a lot of movement. But getting that hook shot, you can save a bit of time, but I know these runners are dying for these boots.
All right, so Jet doubling back here to go ahead and check this hammer peg game.
Always feels good when a couple of those bone chickens get in your way and you can bop them on the head without having to go out of your way.
Yeah, it's always a nice stress reliever. It's kind of like a stress ball, if you will.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see where Jet's going to go right now, and he is going to make the Meyer play as well. Looks like.
Yeah, so if there is anything that Nep finds in here, that could be, you know, useful in progression. We do need that big key, and it's vanilla, the worst place it could be. But without that cane, it is, like you were saying, a net time loss. Since Jet is hot on the trail here, there's nothing really to be gained for Nep, unfortunately.
Yeah, that big key is also another interesting spicy MCS big key in that big key is logically locked by 3 small keys. So I think I'm honestly feeling almost comfortable saying that there's not going to be anything blocked by the cane in here because of that. It's like, it's a pendant. Meyer small keys are always in GT when it's a pendant, it seems. And with the big key being locked by the Meyer small keys, that might be good for Nep. It'll just be the time loss, hopefully, and not the sort of an item doubling down on it as well.
So just 2 checks, or I take that back, more than 2 checks, because with keys, we get to go left first. It always feels weird doing that, but it is the, you know, net time-saving way of doing so. There's 20 bucks in the big chest. We do have a small chest out here. You know, one of those normal chests that you just kick open. Heart piece to be had.
I mean, we know it's, you know, you take a little damage on those spikes game, but come on, let's give these folks some items, not heartbeat. Yeah, it looks like both Nep and Jet just taking the choice of just diving straight to this big key chest. They come in, they're gonna get every item they can. Well,
All right, so no value to be had inside of Misery Mire unless something's on that boss, and I'm sure Jet is going to go ahead and clear all of that out. Nep, meanwhile, back on the pyramid. And
yeah, I bet this is the catfish play.
Yeah, this is probably catfishing to Zora, and, you know, if she gets that powder and gets the, you know, just says, hey, I'm going to go do this, and gets the cane, it's definitely going to be a big feels bad moment for her. But, you know, with nothing showing up in Mire, I think that's good if you're rooting for the Titans mitts, just because there's still, you know, a little bit of leeway, you know, though we still haven't found anything game-breaking.
Yeah, and if, you know, with Nep knowing, like, I'm assuming she's up on all the key logic, knowing that that big key is locked by 3 Meyer small keys, I suspect it won't be something that she, like, is like, oh, it just got the cane, I gotta go back to Meyer immediately. Now, you might want to do it anyways because you figure, oh, my opponent might have had this coming in or the first time, so you want to hedge against that. But I could also see putting it off with a logic read at this time in the seed as well.
So the heart difference between our two runners is about to be rectified right now by our friend the Catfish, throwing us a full heart container. But you know what? Nep doesn't want it. So off we go to Zora.
Rejected. Okay, so it was just a heart piece on the Zora ledge. I wasn't paying attention when Jet walked by the first time. So the flippers are in TR and the fire rod is in ice, right? That's how this is gonna happen.
I think I'm inclined to agree with you on that. Just basically, it's like I've seen this song and dance before somewhere else. I'm having a bit of a deja vu experience.
Yeah, it really does feel that way. I mean, obviously the seeds are all random, but it does feel like there are some overarching patterns. And I wouldn't be surprised if one or both of these runners do fake flipper into ice to try and pull out the fire rod or anything else valuable before they go up to the map. Because really, they are running out of checks at this point. The other thing they have is they have a bunch of pod small keys, I feel like, that aren't all even in logic, actually, I think, now that I think about it, because the one that Nep has over Jet, she found in Waterfall Fairy, which is Flipper's locked, so really interesting. What are they going to do? It's got to be TR. It has to be TR.
Yeah, that seems to be the play. Nep having a bit of trouble with the bird. It looked like she was playing a crowd control there for a moment with maybe some flute deactivation, but not the case. I kid.
Another one of those things that you feel cost you races in the end, and you go back in time, and it's like, it's 3 seconds. Maybe that wasn't as bad as some of the other things I did, but man, it feels like when things like that happen, they spiral. Nep keeps Kane.
And since we are on a 10-minute delay, if about 10 minutes ago you felt a rumbling in the force, it was probably Nep's mind exploding a little bit, getting that cane. So now that we're seeing it, a little bit of frustration slashes there, but going to be trucking along. We'll see where she decides to head next.
Yeah, and it's interesting because, like, you kind of expect to get 1 or 2 items in each one of these key sanity seeds annoyingly late or whatever. The fact that it ended up being the cane for both times just got to be doubly frustrating.
So I mentioned earlier that it was a pretty close race with no real way of telling who was ahead. And I gotta say, at this stage, as we see Jet taking down Viddy, with Nep heading back into Mire, this is basically the gap between these runners, is just a whatever it takes time-wise to get from the front of Mire to the back.
Yeah, Nep does have the Waterfall Fairy check over Jet still, and I'm assuming at some point, especially once he gets the flippers, he'll do it. So he'll bleed 30 seconds out of this. So it's a little bit closer than this, but yeah, this is about what it's at right now. And I'm just going to keep talking about Turtle Rock until someone actually goes there. So I feel like that's got to be where Jeff's going at this point. Or is he doing the ice play?
You know, I don't really care if you've got 3 hearts or 20 hearts, but if you have everything to get into Turtle Rock, the game is probably pushing you there for one reason or another. Now, if it's crazy logic like you were talking about, that is a possibility, but Jet actually going to be doing that Waterfall Fairy check we were talking about just a moment ago.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if he walks back out of the Waterfall Fairy and just goes right into Ice Palace as well. Because, yeah, I mean, Ice Palace is intriguing because it's the one dungeon that you can full clear at this point without orphaning anything. Even if it's not in logic, like, the flippers are, like, they feel like they have to be in TR almost at this point, so.
And Jet getting a fairy from the Waterfall Fairy. Just a small one, you know? It's always nice to have.
Yeah, that's a little bit creepy, I won't lie. Like, are you just giving me one of your children here? What's going on with this? But I'm not just going to get into fairy biology.
Now, is this a check we haven't seen? Heading over to Hobo.
I feel like it is. Sound logic again. But Jet, I feel like he's pretty well known for his thorough routing. I'm not surprising he's making this play. Just reinforce my decision to try and skip hobo every seed if I can. Yeah, and this swimming out, this is definitely the Ice Palace play right now.
Yeah, I agree. I like this play. Very good chance of finding something of value here, especially with Bombos in hand. But Nep going to be getting that green pendant. We'll see where she decides to go next. We do have that green pendant turn in still looming, and now we're getting this out of sequence ice. So this a lot of action to be had here.
Yeah, for sure. I think a good theory in all these, like especially these all dungeons key sanity races, especially since the ladders be becoming more popular, and in the preseason it was one of the modes that was being played frequently. So I got a bunch of these races in, and a bunch of others did as well. But I feel like one of the strats we found worked pretty well is like if you can full clear a dungeon, you should probably just go do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And at this point, with Nep following right behind Jet's footsteps, we're only a few rooms apart yet again.
Yeah, this is the race right here. So really, unsurprisingly, and a pod small key in here. I guess unsurprisingly as well because the other one was flippers locked. So yeah, these runners have everything they want for Ice Palace. It might be something you consider putting off if you have a lot of if you have very limited health, or you're maybe going in fighter sword bombos hammer and you're looking for a bit of an ugly boss fight under the best of circumstances. But with tempered sword, they've both got at least Jet has that fairy safety picked up in the waterfall. I think Nep has a fairy from earlier in the seed that she hasn't used yet as well. Like these runners are totally fine.
I want to say that Jet actually has 2 now.
Yeah, I think he might have 2. Yeah.
Yeah, both of them did get that fairy bottle. I believe that was in Saha's closet. Jet showing us Icebreaker there. That's a fun little trick where you walk through a wall. And yeah, it breaks Ice Palace, hence the name.
Yeah, I remember right at the start of the league, Jet and I got in a call with Megawatt. They're like, all right, you got to teach us old men how to do this Icebreaker glitch now.
All right, Jet over on the right side of ice. There's the big key to ice. Nep also doing Icebreaker, getting those 10 arrows from the vanilla big key check.
Yeah, it's funny. Something like Icebreaker comes out, and it's like, oh, great. Now I need a boostless strat to get down the ice rink in Ice Palace now because it's something I'm doing right now.
All right, Jet making his way into Ice Tea Room. That's a red boomerang. I mean, we still don't have flippers. We could make some use of that, I guess, with Splash Delete, but we've kind of done all of the flippers checks that we can sequence break at this point.
Yeah, it's like a half pair of flippers, right?
Yeah. All right, so this is a little bit different here. Nep going to be heading over to the double Freezor room, which Jet is about to bomb jump across the pit now. They're kind of converging here.
I think we got to get on the horn with the devs to just shorten this Bombos animation a little bit.
You called it. There it is, the Fire Rod in the big chest on Sailor Nep's side. That's a great find, a great sequence break, like you were saying, before going up into Turtle Rock.
Yeah, that Fire Rod behind Bombos is just so... it's just like, it's one of the most classic memes in Rando. I feel like the nesting of the fire items, whether that's the lamp blocking the Fire Rod or the Fire Rod blocking Bombos or whatever it is, they just always seem to be connected with one another.
Now, I did notice here... Oh no! Nep using the Fire Rod, having to mirror out, not having enough magic because not using Bombos. That is a costly mistake.
Yeah, that's rough. There's not even a really easy way to get magic back. Yeah, and that is one of the sort of unfortunate consequences of the icebreaker technique is that the two magic pots that you used to pick up in the room where you kill the two Stalfos Knights, is that what they're called? Or at least you can
Yeah.
get one of the pots for free. But this is really unfortunate. Oh, and it is just absolutely crushing now.
Lord have mercy. The boots, as well as a pendant. So, $300 at Sahasrahla. Things not looking good at Sailor Nep's camp right now.
So, like, the ped's not in logic, but it's accessible. I feel like there's an obligation when you have 3 pendants, like, you just drop everything and go pull the pedestal. I suspect Jet might not make that play in this instance, but with the Fire Rod, his Skullwoods might be something he is considering. So, we'll see. Oh, he's going to Desert.
I mean, Desert was boots locked, so following the sequence break could maybe lead to an Ice Rod.
Yeah, exactly. And, like, at this point, he's probably figuring, okay, the flippers are in TR. I'm not really losing anything by doing any of these other checks down here, be it Desert, be it Skullwoods, because they're things you have to do anyways. So this is probably going to keep him from going up there for a bit.
All right, so Nep did get a little... I think Nep got a little bit of magic. Gonna hopefully be able to use Bombos to open up Turtle Rock. Otherwise, we're gonna be making a trip into Super Bunny. Gonna be even a more time-costing situation.
Yeah. We'll see if there's anything else of value that could potentially bring a little back. It feels like, I guess, just looking at sort of things we're still looking for the Go mode resolution, it's Flipper's Bow and Ice Rod, if I'm not mistaken, on the sort of item count front. And then with keys, like, I don't think they need any more keys, quote unquote need.
Yeah, it depends on if we need, I guess, Lava Chest.
Yeah, Lava Chest would be the one thing, yeah, exactly. Or maybe some crazy, like, I don't know, even with two keys, GT should be fine. I can't imagine a scenario where, open the door on accident or something.
All right, so Nep going to be doing the right side of TR. Meanwhile, Jet taking on Landmo, and with that Fire Rod making super quick work of them. Very nicely done, being rewarded with a piece of heart. But more importantly, going to be getting yet another crystal, adding it to his count. And with those boots in hand, gonna, basically be trucking through this seed at this point.
Yeah, the boots, you get them later in the seed, they don't save as much time, necessarily as they do when you get them earlier in the seed. What a prophetic statement I've just made, or profound. But, like, they offer a certain level of, like, mental calmness to me that, like, is worth even more than the time they save. It's just like you can just default to all your strats now. It's much easier because, like most runners, I'm assuming we have boot strats are our go-tos, right? So yeah, it looks like with the way this TR is working out, the big key was in the first chest. So with these 3 keys, basically everything with the exception of the boss and the lava chest or the vanilla big key chest is in logic right now.
All right, so Chain Chomp Room just has $20.
Yeah, and Nev's showing some really good adaptivity in there with low health and switching to burn and not panicking, getting out of there, not taking the death.
All right, so Jet gonna make use of that Fire Rod as well before going to TR. I like this routing from Jet. Kind of exhaust as many options as you can of getting that Ice Rod and being able to kind of do everything in one go up here.
Yeah, exactly. Anything you can do to prevent a mountain climb is usually, I mean, it's not always worth it if you're doing all these terrible checks, but when you're doing sort of required crystals checks before going it, I think this is a really good call by Jet to clean this up before heading.
Yeah, and plus we've got all the pendants now, and granted that's a little out of logic, but we can go ahead and get that ped check in. So very like basically going along with how Jet plays this game, routing efficiency, kind of coming up big for him here. And down goes Mothula. That was super quick fight, very nicely done, getting another crystal and another heart container. So we're up to 14 for Jet. That's kind of a nice cushy amount of help.
Yeah, I mean, it gets to the point where you start becoming disappointed at heart containers. Normally it's like, you know, it's heart container, what can it do? Now it's like, really, game? Like, there's still these left in the...
Yeah, it's amazing how many of those there actually are. And I don't think we've seen Sankart yet, so that's like another thing that these runners may come across.
Oh, and just the bombs in Mimic Cave. One of, I feel like that's another one of my least favorite locations. I feel like it was one of those locations I didn't really hate, and then inverted mode was invented, and then all of Death Mountain just took like a negative guilt by association with inverted mode in my head. Jet going for the blind pedestal pull out of logic. Gotta love it.
Well, $300, so nothing of value there.
Yeah, that's now he's probably thinking this is out of logic. Why did I bother checking this? It's never anything. It's one of those funny things. It looks like his TR just taking us all the way to Laser Bridge. I don't feel like Neff has found anything yet.
I'm trying to figure out what exactly Jet is doing here. Oh, we have both 5/6 crystals. Yeah, we have both 5/6 crystals on Jet's side. So yeah, this play makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I was just getting my pen out to write down make fun of Jet for going to Swamp Palace without flippers, and then he switched to his menu.
It's hard to find things to make fun of Jet, you know, anymore, especially after week 1. You know, basically playing very efficiently, and then, you know, someone skipping a flute. Jay Meisher, shout outs to him. As we see a bow there on Laser Bridge, you know, just getting bodied by somebody else skipping a big bait item.
Yeah, exactly.
And here's an ice rod. Okay, so it looks like we're going to clear this all in one go. And the flippers you were talking about, Laser Bridge is loaded.
Wow. What else can be here?
I mean, is this...
This is go mode, right?
Go mode? Yeah, I mean, this is go mode.
This is funny. In one of the... I feel like I was watching Jet and Megawatt do a practice race for one of the... for the co-op week, and they found their last 4 go mode items in Turtle Rock, and I'm having some really, really strong flashbacks right now. So it looks like Jet's probably just taking care of a few of these last overworld checks with the 2 boots checks. And then I feel like after that he's basically down to TR. I can't remember whether he's checked Spike Cave or not.
Alright, so here we go. Trinex. Gonna have to get a few swipes in on the Firehead, as well as... Oh, and Nep taking a death here, unfortunately. I do believe has at least 1 fairy. So gonna be okay for the moment.
Whew. Yeah, Trinex one of those bosses that does a lot of damage when you get hit when you're not expecting it. I think just a fraction early on that spin, having to waste like a quarter second on that nice final phase 3 cleanup, or phase 2 cleanup, I don't know. I call it phase 3, but it's probably phase
All right, so Nep just needs those boots, and we know where they are for Go mode. Meanwhile, Jet headed to TR moments away from his Go mode.
Yeah, I wonder why he went to the Dark World down here.
This could be the play for that key.
Oh yeah, I think you're right. I think you are right. Completely forgot about it.
All right, so Nep fluting back to 8. This is going to be the play back to Cold Stare. So I guess not a ton of time lost, maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's going to be enough. You know, being able to skip out on Pyramid Fairy, the Bonk Rocks. I don't know if Jet did King's Tomb, but it's definitely heading in Jet's favor at the moment, but definitely still a close race.
Yeah, this was definitely what Nep had to do. If she went anywhere else, it was going to be trouble for her. But I think she rightfully figures that Jet probably did the same thing. And then it's like, if that's where the boots are and I don't make this play, I'm toast. So I completely agree with coming back. You're right.
And I gotta say, we've joked about this. The runners joked about it, being that that's another pod key up on the mountain. But being that this game is in what we called the 11th hour of the division finals week, basically these runners could potentially tie. And if they do, they have to replay their match before the deadline. So, you know, but still close. A lot of exciting things. I'm really hoping they don't tie. I don't think either one of us or the runners could take it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go to bed and figure out in the morning what happens if that's what happens, but no. A nice icebreaker again by Nep. Yeah, just trying to figure out, like, we'll figure out, like, fairly quickly. I mean, I guess they could just do different dungeons until GT to give us no opportunity to rate them against each other, but it's looking pretty dang close.
Unfortunately, Nep
sorry, go ahead.
Missing that stair clip, losing a little bit of time. That's kind of a swag strat. It does save a little bit of time when you pull it off, but unfortunately, not happening today.
Yeah, exactly. I've never figured out that one personally. I mean, I've messed around with it in the hack and I've gotten it, but I've never gotten it to a point where I'm breaking it out into my, like, you know, my runs where I'm playing for keeps or playing all series. Because a lot of times I just like to mess around and meme.
Don't we all? All right, so Jet going around Turtle Rock, and here we go. Nep round 2 with Cold Stare using Bombos first. I applaud that decision.
Yeah, I've done exactly what Nep did in exactly the same scenario since Icebreaker, and I basically have made the mental switch where I used to just use Fire Rod because it was quicker, where basically now I use Bombos every time as a hedge to prevent something like that from happening. They're going to be super annoyed at that Boots location.
Yeah, most definitely. Knowing that's probably something Jet has done. So, yeah, at this point, we are in item go mode, basically key go mode as well. We'll see where these runners convert.
Yeah, so I have a feeling they're probably, I mean, I guess it doesn't matter either. They're going to do Swamp and then Eastern Pod for Jet, and Nep still has a couple dungeons to clear up. I'm not sure, has she finished Desert yet or no? And then she has Skull Woods as well.
And of course, with her deciding to go do Pod and Eastern now, it's really going to be hard to gauge where these runners are, you know, since they're taking very different routes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and the dungeon count may be in Jet's favor at this point, as Goomba and Chad's pointing out, but TR is slow. There's nothing you can do about it. Those platforms only move at a fixed...
Yeah, there's no real, like, legal way to make the platforms go faster, unfortunately.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, sometimes in Key Sanity you can get that dream where you just roll through TR. You don't have to do the sort of checks on the wings that take up a little bit of time, but by and large, they're not that time consuming compared to the full dungeon clear. But yeah, honestly, I feel like the amount of time that Jet is going to save by finding the boots it can almost, most of it, be wiped out by checking Pyramid Fairy and the boots check.
Yeah, I mean, by and large, if Nep went to any other place except back to Ice Palace, then it was definitely a GG scenario, considering that
Yeah.
go mode for Jet is going to be on Laser Bridge. But now it's back to that unknown thing. You know, we can speculate, but it's really going to come down to execution at this stage and, you know, how much things have, you know, hurt them along the way.
Yeah, the other thing is like a GT big key, but I feel like with two small keys, you only have one good choice in GT. You've got to go right to compass room and then left. Otherwise, you might not have enough small keys. So that is also like, unless there's GT small keys in the way, that might be interesting in that it might actually eliminate sort of choice in GT, unusually so.
Jet in the Crystal Roller Room getting those 10 arrows. Going to be heading to Laser Bridge now and going to be getting his go mode in just a moment. Nep taking on Helmasaur King now. 17 slaps to the face with the hammer to get that mask off and reveal his true form. And gonna be...
Sorry, I was just going to say, I still can't get over the fact that you said he's going to be in go mode and he's still missing 3 items.
Yeah, it's unreal. It's like, because Laser Bridge is usually loaded, but it's not that loaded.
Yeah, it's kind of absurd, actually.
All right, so there's the bow for Jet. Jet thinking, all right, I guess I've got to go to Pod and Eastern. Oh, hey, my Ice Rod. I guess I can go ahead and clear this out. You know, I'm so surprised I'm going to take a little bit of a fall here. Let's get this guy out of the way. This stinks. It's just a compass. I wonder what this is. If this is go mode. Oh, it is. Holy crap. And here we are.
Afterburner's turned on, and it's down to execution at this point, basically. I mean, execution and, like, the previous things you've done in the match, I guess I should clarify that as well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this is where every little mistake in a tense elimination game like this as a runner, you have to, you know, stay composed. You have to block every little mistake you may be kind of kicking yourself for. You've got to block it out of your head and just go, you know, go with your play. You're experienced at this. You're in this position for a reason. And yeah, both of these guys, great runners, so going to be able to get this done.
That was a really great point too, Dante. Like, I feel like you get in go mode, you can either like start rehashing all the mistakes you've made in your run, because you know you've got that mental load taken off. You're not thinking about what items you need or anything. You know, you just got to go through the muscle memory of finishing out the game at this point. Or you can really focus on your room by room execution and put everything out of your mind. And that's exactly what I try and do. I'm just focusing one room at a time. I can't do anything about what I've done previously. I can only change the future. Let's make as few mistakes as I can moving forward.
Jet getting that Turtle Rock Crystal. Just 3 dungeons to go. Eastern, Pod, and Swamp. And over on Nep's side, as she is finishing up Eastern, we'll just have 3 dungeons to go. And it will end up being 3 different dungeons. So yeah, there's no real way for us to actually compare where these runners are.
Okay, let's just hope Net puts off Swamp till the end, so at least we'll get the race through Swamp to the end game.
And unfortunately, Net missing the quick kill there. That's a little bit of time cost, but getting the flute out, thinking ahead. So this is going to be, you know, desert, Skull Woods, something like that. Maybe Swamp. If it's Swamp, then, you know, screw us for trying to have them converge at some point.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, you wanted to see what the race was going to shake out like, and hold my beer.
Yes. All right, so this is the play into Skullwoods. So we'll hopefully get a little bit of an idea of what's going on.
I just feel like they're dashing through rooms so fast, it's like just blowing through my mind at this point. The game speed feels like it's turned up to 1.5. Yeah, and Jet, I mean, these dungeons are pretty quick. Skullwoods and Desert are pretty quick. Go Mode Swamp is pretty quick. This is really, really hard to call.
Yeah, I mean, Jet had a very, very fast moth fight, and so, you know, that could be a factor here for Nep. This is kind of a RNG fight in a way. Having, you know, your Fire Rod, obviously you need that to get there, but also having your Tempered Sword, it can still go slow if you get bad patterns.
Yeah, and especially maybe you get them with a sword beam or something like that, or her. I think Mothula's a her. I can't remember. But yeah, Jet did. It's going to be hard to make up time for him on that, from Jet on that fight. That's for sure. So hard to tell.
Yeah, this it's so neck and neck right now. And with them being not together, it's really hard to tell. I do want to take this time to shout out our tracker, Ricky of Kakiri, doing a fantastic job clicking the buttons for us. And it's not the easiest job, and definitely not easy when keys are thrown into the mix. So we do want to say thank you for that as we go into a double boss fight moment here.
Yeah, I feel like Nep might be the slightest bit ahead. I want to say the Desert Clear will be slightly faster than Eastern, but Jet is like at the front door to Eastern, so really close. Yeah, really nice fight.
Nice fight from both runners there. Nep doing a fantastic job, even with the sword beams against Moth, and Jet taking down Helmasaur without any issue. So now they're basically, they've each got 2 left. Guys, this is insane. Oh, and Nep's gonna get out the hammer. We're going to 4. We're not gonna know.
Lovely, lovely.
My heart can't take it.
All right, I'm just gonna go away for 5 minutes. Can we get some comms to cover in here and cover for Danny and me, or what?
So if you guys are not too familiar with the league, this is Game 5 of the Division Finals between the Titans Mitts and Phendrana Drifters. And if you couldn't tell, I'm on Titans Mitts and Frostbite's on Phendrana Drifters. So we equally have stakes in this race, and we're basically trying to, you know, bring this commentary to you guys as unbiased as possible. But we knew when I contacted Frost and said we should try to sign up for comms for this because it's going to be a good one. I couldn't picture this going any different.
Yeah, it's been great. Like, you know, we're both poking fun at our teams, hoping we win, but obviously we're all good friends, and it's all for fun in the end. But I mean, obviously I want Jet to win, but it's not like you know, not like I'm going to sit here and you know, pray that Nep, you know, dies to Argus or anything like that. Oops, did I just say that out loud? No, I'm just kidding. Let's get some clean running down to the end. Let's see how, let's just, execution comes to matter. Push comes to shove. You always want to win a race when your opponent gave you the best shot. You hate to win a race because your opponent forgot something, or they did a dumb thing and they, you know, they made a catastrophic decision or whatever. You always want to sort of get your best shot. At least that's certainly how I feel when I'm doing basically anything competitive, and certainly in Rando.
Oh yeah, for sure. All right, so Jet in the Armos fight, delivering 5 arrows to the right, setting up this quick kill. And, you know, as it kind of played out, getting it done, that's a little bit of a net time save in comparison to Nep's clear, just because Nep didn't get the full quick kill. So a little bit of time gained there, and we'll see how this all shakes out when we, I guess, walk into GT.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to maybe I'll do this for this race because it's been so close. I'd love to see an analysis of like a dungeon by dungeon breakdown. How long did each runner spend in each dungeon in a seed? How long did they spend in the various areas of the overworld in the seed? It'd be interesting to see where those sort of like micro time saves that don't, they show up when you're watching it. You see the little mistakes, but it's hard to actually gauge how much time they've cost someone.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I mean, if you do that, Jet definitely spent less time in Turtle Rock thanks to those boots. Not by much because of the platforms, but definitely a thing.
Yeah,
All
exactly.
right, so we are getting some convergence here. Jet going to be doing his last dungeon in Swamp, but Nep still has one to go. I think when they're going to get to GT that Jet is going to be in the lead, but by how much, I'm not certain.
Yeah, I think it looks like it might be a little bit, but yeah, I'm still. I mean, I'm notoriously terrible at guessing how long things take in this game, but it just seems really close. And Nep with some really nice sort of zero cycle style eye kills. I certainly can't do that. I'm always impressed with it.
Getting the one cycle there. Just needing 2 fire rod shots and a spin for the quick kill, as we call it, and does so. So that is crystal number 6. Aga is already done for both of these runners. Blessed that this is not a castle tower small key hunt like the runners talked about it would be.
This is way more fun. Because those castle tower key hunts can be like neck and neck, and then one runner lose by 15 minutes because they just don't pick the right spot, but they're tied at an hour 40. Well, this is going to be close. Nep just has to go pick up that big key, mirror out, go to the back. Jet just has to finish the back of Swamp. I'm still not sure.
Yeah, it really just depends. I believe Jet does diver down, and that's going to be, pretty equal footing for them. It is a net time save if you get it versus, actually draining the water. So we'll see how things shake out once Jet does the back.
Yeah, I suspect he'll use the Canis Samaria strat.
Oh, I was wondering what Nep was doing. We still have to get this big key because it is on the torch.
Remembering that is key because I think most people have probably had a seed where the big key's on the torch and they go back and they go into the back of desert, and you can unfortunately get up there pretty high, I think, without the big.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I would have, if I'd have been in this situation, I would have just ran straight there. Jet doing some checks here. That actually was kind of smart, I have to say. If that turned out to be a GT small, that could have been huge.
Yeah, GT small or silver arrows, like there's still some viable items left.
And every check that he checks that Nep skipped, there is that possibility, but at the same time, if it doesn't come up of value, it's a little bit of time lost.
Yeah, I feel like the only checks he's going to make are those ones where you're like, I'm almost touching this chest on my route through the dungeon anyways. Super close. Argus, much slower boss fight. Desert, much slower boss entry route.
Jet doing a nice job reeling in that puff while it was spinning around. Does not get the quick kill. Meanwhile, Nep not getting the one cycle on Landmo. So both runners having a little bit of trouble with their respective bosses. Jet entering the crystal cutscene probably, let's see, about 4 seconds ahead of Sailor Nep. They're going to GT next. This is going to be close.
Yeah, Nep's going to save time right now because they're not going to have to mirror on their way back, so this is going to be almost dead time.
Oh, hey, there's a GT big key guessing game because the big key's up there. You guys are already putting your numbers in chat. Just, you do your thing. We'll try and count them, but me and Frostbite are probably on the edge of our seat freaking out.
I'm actually standing.
Some races I'll put my standing desk up to do commentary, and I kind of wish I had because I'm shuffling around in my chair so much right now.
Yeah, this is awesome. I mean, this is insanely close.
The difference between the two right now, I feel like, is basically because of Jet checking those chests.
Yeah, for sure. If the sort of cautious play he made, not predicting that all the items he needed were just going to be internal rock, of checking basically Pyramid Fairy into the boots checks, has definitely allowed Nep to grind that time back from the Ice Palace, mess up, for lack of a better term, with the magic.
I'm honestly surprised. We saw a scenario where Nep dove, Meyer had to double dip, Nocaine had to double dip Ice, but basically the checks that Jet got with the boots is, I guess, the difference at this stage. And by difference, I mean a matter of a quarter of a screen.
Yeah, and Nep had some really creative and smart routing decisions early in the game, specifically with the Moon Pearl pickup, and also with the sort of Death Mountain play, although that actually cost her time because Jet didn't end up going back there. So yeah, just a very different ways to get to this, 1 second, 2 second difference heading into GT right now?
Yeah, this is incredible. So both runners heading to the right. I hope we get...
Also, they do have 3 keys as well. They both have 3 keys.
There's a mushroom and a book. Okay, that's fun. Both runners heading to the right side.
Yeah, at least with this being this big key in the dungeon, you know that book isn't actually leading to the big key in this seed.
All right, so we do need to bring up a point here, just in case. There is the rule of a tie. And given how close this race is, and that they're on the same route, we'll say that a tie is considered to be within 2 seconds of each other. And that's all we really need to worry about, as long as the gap between these two is more than 2 seconds. And Jet having a little better execution through that right side room, pulling ahead ever so slightly.
Nep just refusing to let us, just routing that room slightly different, making us not be able to tell for 1 split second what the race is. No, Jet has gained a few seconds with his execution. Yeah, the unfortunate, I guess with this mode, it does sort of limit the options for routing GT some. I feel like most runners are probably going to do that, hope right then left route in most cases. Pure execution, though.
Literally a second or so apart between these two.
I can just feel like the pressure and like how they're just thinking, okay, gotta get through every room as fast as I can.
So there's our Hyrule Castle small key. Don't worry, guys, everything is now in logic there. Yeah, and Nep getting a little better Stalfos room, pulling ahead by a fraction of a second.
Well, and Jet just stealing it right back in the hook shot.
This is incredible.
Yeah, this couldn't be a better way to end this. This is absurdly tight. Just every single micro mistake is magnified. It's going to be Tower Room, isn't it?
I hope not.
Yeah, me too. I can't take that much.
Oh my gosh. All right, here's Quake. We don't need that. We're headed to Rando Room.
Wow. I can't.
Literally like 2 seconds between these rooms.
They've been like oscillating too. It's not. It's just incredible.
Here's the big key. Nep getting it a split second beforehand. Gonna go ahead and check these other chests though, just in case silver arrows show up. So Jet entering the climb. Let's time it at the door. 150.11 to 150.12.
Literally
1 second difference.
Yeah, I totally agree with that decision by Nep too, because like realistically, if Silvers had been in that room and you didn't get him, you definitely lost the game. You could see, Edium and I had the same scenario where we were running up literally room for room, but the difference was I did have the silver arrows, and it ultimately made the difference in our match. And this is just going to come down to the execution in the end game, folks.
Jet showing what he's made of here. Mimics 2 a little faster, was at the 2 second mark. Now probably about 6 or so seconds ahead, one full dash room ahead.
Yeah, that's looks like some NMG practice showing off. That is one of the rooms that if you see the people that have put in a lot of the NMG time, it makes a difference, whereas like people like me just have silvers most of the time and take it for granted that he can do it.
All right, Jet entering the gauntlet at 151.06 and Nep entering at 151.11. 5 seconds between the two of them right now.
Yeah, this can come down to gauntlet RNG. This is still just absolutely up for grabs. Absolutely nail biting. Oh, and Jet getting really nice RNG in this room, and Nep with that sweet arrow snipe. Both really clean.
All right, Jet exiting the gauntlet at 151.44. Nep exiting at 151.47. So Nep gaining a little bit of time there, just 3 seconds now.
Yeah, neither runner going for the fire rod. This makes sense. They have limited resources. Neither one of them has a magic refill. You need to be able to light the torches. It looks like Jet gained a cycle on land mode.
Yeah, 152.05. Jet exits land mode 2. 152.12 because of the menu. So a 6 or so second difference there, if my math's correct.
I don't know. It's close enough. Sorry, go ahead.
Chat likes to measure things here in Ganon Falls a lot of times. It could come to that. It could come to a Moldorm Fall. I hope, honestly, that it doesn't. This is so insane to watch these guys go at it like this.
Yeah, same. You definitely want a clean run to the end. You know, with that butter sword, the likelihood of them failing the 1-in-1 is basically gone. Might come down to silverless. How clean are your triples? Missing torch glitch becomes super important. Are you going to go for it with the lamp? Are you going to go for the quick spin? All these decisions are going to be very important.
All right, Nep having to wait for that, so not despawning GT. Jet checking the 2 chests up top here. Nep foregoing the checks, going to be heading in, saving a little bit of time that way.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so Jet enters the Moldorm 2 arena at 153.27, and Nep's going to be entering at 153.34, so a 7-second difference, and Jet has Moldorm 2 down.
Just one little bite in the butt from Moldorm for Nep, and she's got him down as well. Coming up to the math test to see if anyone can gain or lose any time on it. I know this is one of the fights that I have one of the biggest love-hate relationships with.
It's definitely one of the tough ones. So Jet entered at 154.02, Nep at 154.08, a 6-second difference between the two.
This is so tense.
Ooh. I have lost count on both sides. We'll see which one pops down first.
I feel like Jet is on a 2-1-2.
Yeah, Jet is done with Aga 2.
Yeah, they both.
So is Nep.
Yeah, they both took him down on the same cycle. I think Nep had 1 extra hit in that fourth cycle, so it's like a quarter of a second extra maybe. But this is so close. It is definitely going to come down, I feel like right now, to silverless at this point. It's close enough. If you miss a couple if Jet misses a couple triples and Nep nails them, this is definitely still within the realms of switching leads right now.
Falling in 155.02 to falling in at 155.07. This is a 5-second gap. Here we go. 6 swipes for phase 1, 6 swipes for phase 2, 4 for phase 3, and then the dreaded silverless. Just going to need 12 spins. Jet already into phase 2. These teleports between the 2 runners are seated just like the Aga Blue Balls were we talked about earlier. Jet done with phase 2 into phase 3.
Yeah, again, and just be kind. My heart can't handle 37 teleports right now.
Nep down to just 3 hearts. Gonna go ahead and get the lamp out, as has Jet. Jet has 2 swipes in, make that 3 for phase 3. 1 swipe to go. This is for all the marbles, ladies and gentlemen. This is game 5. Loser is eliminated from the league. So the arrows are on Death Mountain, and Jet getting the torch glitch. That's huge.
My heart was
Nep getting it too, so here we go. 12 spins. There's not a whole lot we can really say here except try and count them out and hope that these guys get triples and doubles.
I'm not even going to try and count them. I'm not even going to say anything. I think I'm just going to watch at this point.
I want to say Jet is ahead by maybe 1 or 2 swipes at this stage. Neither one seems to have missed one. And with the gap coming into this, Jet was slightly in a lead. Oh, and Nep getting a silver hit. This is going to be a time costing thing unless Jet takes him down. There goes Ganon for Jet. And this has been super exciting, but with sword in the air and a few left, I think this is Jet's race. Get those GGs in chat, and down goes Ganon for Sailor Nep of the Titans Mitts. What an incredible race. Get your GGs in chat for both of these runners. Jet and the Phendrana Drifters are going to win the Pyramid of Power division and head on to meet Faraime. Will give an interview if we win the tournament in the conference semifinals. Man, I hate to say that my team came out on the losing end, but you know what? This was incredible.
Yeah, that was one of the best races I've ever seen from start to finish. Great plays, some mistakes that were made up for by great plays, right choices, wrong choices, excellent execution down the end, a crazy gauntlet climb into an awesome Ganon fight. You couldn't ask for more. Really wish the best of GG's to Nep in this race, and Dante and Etium for their run in the season this far. Obviously, super excited to move forward to the next round, and it looks like we are joined by Jet. GG's Jet.
Hey, GG.
Do you have a defibrillator to start our hearts? That race was so crazy down the stretch.
God.
How are you feeling right now, my friend?
Oh man. My GT, it felt pretty good. I just knew I had to go fast. I felt not ahead at all. And I'm like, there's nothing I felt great about the seed. Fake flipping the ice and getting a lot of worth there was nice, but I really should have just beelined right up to Turtle Rock afterwards. But I really wanted to find Ice Rod first. I didn't know if Ice Rod would be in there. And I'm like, I had a feeling flippers were in Turtle Rock. I didn't know if there was like anything else. So I'm like, let me look for Ice Rod before I commit, because Ice Pals ended up being worth. So yeah, there's nothing I did that made me feel ahead. I'm just like, I just need a nice solid GT. Just keep cool, go fast. I turned on the restream and we were like in sync. Like this is amazing. I need to rewatch this.
Yeah, it was obviously Dante and I have huge vested interests as well, but just watching the end game with, you guys had different dungeons completed and we're on different routes and we were trying to figure out who was in the lead and we had no idea. And then it turned out you were like exactly tied with each other and Fear Agents in chat having a heart attack, and it was just an absolutely incredible race to watch.
And we are also joined by Sailor Nep, the Titans Mitts, GG.
GG, Sailor Neptune.
Maybe having a little bit of mic trouble here. Not sure, but also GG's to Jet and Phendrana. This, man, I gotta say, I have to say this as a comm, but also as a competitor, but if my team had to lose, this is how you want to lose, like this close, like this was insane. I think we've got Nep's mic fixed. Is that correct?
Yeah, for some reason my microphone settings got all messed up. I had to fix them real quick.
So Sailor Nep, you were talking about the hunt for Castle Tower keys. That wasn't too bad. It was required.
Yeah, it seems like most of these that I've ever played always turn into some sort of mess where I I clear GT, get 3 fetch quests, I skip tile room, do all the fetch quests, and then it's in tile room.
Yeah, if you guys go back and watch this, it's incredible because there was that turning point of Jet getting boots and Nep. You guys were in ice around the same time, and then Jet went off and did boots checks, and meanwhile Nep getting go mode except for boots. It still looked like GG at that point, and then deciding to go right back to ice since it was back in logic, and then all of a sudden we had a race on our hands. And of course, you guys didn't do the dungeons, like you didn't converge at Swamp. You held out on us. So we had no idea how close it was until you started climbing GT, and you're on the mountain literally a quarter of a screen apart. And man, you've got to rewatch it. It was absolutely incredible.
So, Sailor Nup, did you do a double dip of Turtle Rock?
I did not. After I failed an Ice Palace, I just went straight to TR, and I skipped... I skipped Lava Chest. After last locationing the Cane, I just felt so behind. I figured, you know what, I'm going to take all the chances and just hope something works out.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's just like it was written down: 3 items on Laser Bridge. Your last 3 go mode items for Jet on Laser Bridge, and sort of the 3 items that we do put Nep in pseudo go mode. There, it was absolutely.
As I mentioned earlier, I felt flippers were in there, but I was just really waiting for flippers, and then we have to go to Swamp to get our bow, and then we'd have to go, I don't know, finish Eastern to get Ice Rock. Like, I was expecting to have to work for our go mode, because I go into Turtle Rock 3 items away from go mode, and I leave in go mode. It's like, what is the seed? Everything, there was nothing around. I think a lot of the progression was in dungeons, even a lot of the keys. Like, my key situation was mostly good this whole race.
Yeah, the small keys were... that's one thing we noted. You got a bunch of small keys earlier. There were a few... Like, I feel like the hammer and the powder leading into Cane were sort of the 2 overworld checks in the mid to late game that were sort of gating everything else in the dungeons. But yeah, it sort of felt like that. Like, you guys... It felt like you guys were finding a lot of items that didn't really open a whole lot, if that makes any sense. It was really funny watching you both climb Agate Tower without a Moon Pearl. That doesn't happen very often. And also, at the same time, it's making total sense when you did it. But yeah, it was a really fun seed. It was just awesome watching a sort of really tight race for such a long time in the end game too, where you guys were both in go mode for multiple retrips to dungeons, and it wasn't sort of one of those races where it's tight at the end and then someone finds the thing and they win by 15 minutes. That it just absolutely went down to the wall. It was just absolutely, like I said, probably my favorite race to ever watch. I have a super vested interest in it, obviously, but it was the most fun I've ever had watching in.
Yeah, neither of you guys were biased.
Nah, not at all. It's definitely the most fun. I mean, Frostbite's a great co-commentator. This was probably the most fun I could ever have losing one of these seeds at any given point.
Yeah,
we tried our best to make it a tie. We really did.
That would have been incredible. I think we all hear Fear Agents had explode from wherever we are on the planet.
Yeah, he'd made the joke with Frost that if we tied, since it was so close to the end of the deadline, we would have to combine teams and become a power team of 6, and then we'd get to co-op the rest of the playoffs, while everybody else on the other teams had to play with only one player. So that wouldn't be bad at all.
Let's do it. Let's make it happen. Titans Drifters. There you go.
There you go. So Edium, I spoke with him. We did extend an invite for the rest of the team since the Titans Mints are being eliminated. Has declined to come in. Did want to extend a GG to the Phendrana Drifters and Jet in this game 5, and says that, and I agree with Edium on this. Hope we get a rematch in season 3. So the series, in playoffs with us is 1-1. From season 1 and season 2 now. So hopefully in season 3 we get to meet up again.
Okay, I'm going to say this. In Season 3, I want a rematch. I want my rematch to be with Jet specifically. And I want us to have a plando where all the items are shuffled except the Cane of Samaria, which is in Link's house. Because our last location, the Cane of Samaria, 3 times we played.
Oh wow! I didn't
It's
know
so
about the
true.
first part, but we were definitely talking about the fact that you kind of expect to maybe run into a snag with an item or two in the seed, but the fact that it ended up being the Cane of Samaria for your birth times is just absolutely frustrating.
And I don't know if you guys planned it, but your file name's pretty accurate here. CT Small Hunt JK, because you got them so early.
That
That's
was
good.
not planned at all.
And win or lose, there was one thing I felt really good about. I had the best fighter sword double ball and chain room I'm ever going to have in my life.
How about there were 2 swords in Eastern? I mean, it sounds like we did the same thing. Fighter sword, Aga Tower. 2 swords are just sitting over at Eastern for us.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. I found them and I'm like, okay, so I double dipped Eastern and didn't even really get any time save out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you go back and watch this, you'll definitely hear Frost and I like kind of exploding on the inside, back and forth a good bit. So, oh man. So congrats to you guys. You guys get to advance and play. Friame will give an interview if we win the tournament. I guess I have to tell you guys, I hope you deny the interview. You beat us, so you got to keep going.
I definitely hope we can pull that off.
I mean, I haven't even lost yet in the league. I'm so full of plot armor. I'm ready for anything.
Oh man, League Season 2, the plot armor stories thicken, or the plot thickens, rather. Well, I guess we're gonna wrap things up here and wrap up this final division finals week. Anything, Jet or Nep, that you would like to say before we close out here?
Thank you guys, Dante, Sailor, Neptune, for the races. Good luck to you next season.
Once again, I want to thank everyone who put on the restream, but also I want to thank both members of my team, Dante and Edium, for just in general being a lot of fun to play with and to watch and to root for throughout all this. And I'll definitely be rooting for the Fendrana Drifters because it's always my policy that I'm going to first and foremost root for whoever knocks me out.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat there. But yeah, congrats to you guys again. Thank you, Ricky of Kikiri, for tracking this for us. Chat, thank you for being here. Man, I hope you guys had as much fun as we did. And Frostbite, thanks for doing comms here. I knew this was going to be one for the ages, and hoping it wasn't going to be a blowout, and I was definitely right in that regard. So thanks for doing comms here, and I'll throw it over to you for that final word.
Thanks, Daddy. It was a blast as always, and all it took for me was to not comma race with Spear Agent to actually get one that ends up in a close result at the end, and I couldn't be happier. So fun, and yeah, looking forward to the next round. It's going to be a blast. Thanks, everybody.